And now we move on to a slightly different angle from which to, a different perspective from which to analyze Shi'ism. And we focus a little more on the Middle East and on those areas that have been most somewhat have felt more directly the impact of all the upheavals that have happened in the Middle East in recent years, from the Iraq War and you know, the rise of ISIS and other very important political developments that have interested the region. And those events also have somewhat exposed how rich the religious mosaic in the Middle East is, but also somewhat how difficult and how sensitive relations between different communities can be. So we have now our next speaker, Dr. Ghiath Rammo, that will tell us more about the relations between the Shias and the Yazidis in the context of this broader time of turbulent change in the Middle East. So, Dr. Ghiath Rammo, please let us know more. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello to everyone. Thank you, Diego. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay.
Very well.
I would like to thank all the presents, especially Shireen Zachary, Mino Mirshah Valad, and Professor Carlo Ceretti for this opportunity. And I am trying to present my slide. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, yes, we can now.
Okay. So I am going to talk about the relationship or relations between Yazidi community and the Shia in Iraqi, especially in the new millennium, because by the history there are many steps, maybe 2 or 3 steps important in the relationship between these two communities. First of all, talking about Iraq today, we are talking about the population more than 40 millions in 2020. So there are a lot of people actually, and there are the growth of population is so high, about 2.5% each year. That means the population are so growth in the last 20-30 years. Always talking about the population, we could also talking about the religions in Iraq, which mean Muslims are about 95-98%, including Shia and Sunni. Shia about 64-69%, and Sunnis about 29-34%. 1% are Christians, including Catholic, Orthodox, and Protestant, Assyrians, and the others, which are Yazidi, Shabaks, Sabian, and Yarsan, are about 1 and 4% of the population. To be maybe more clear about the distribution of the religions and ethnic groups in Iraq today, we could see on the map, and on the north, in the north of and west of Iraq, we could see the red circle where the Yazidi community are lives nowadays. So the most of them actually are around the Mosul and Sinjar, near to Duhok, and east of Erbil, to be specific. So in some way, we could see the Shia community are especially in the south of Iraq, and the geography maybe is a little bit long between the two community, which inside or between them there are the Sunni community, including also a Kurd Sunni community. To know or to declare the relationship between Yazidi and Shias, we could stop on 3 or maybe 4 events. One of them is the important ones, maybe is in the past, because talking about Shia and Yazid ibn Muawiyah, for example, after the killing of Khalifa Uthman bin Affan, Ali bin Abi Talib took over the caliphate in Medina, then moved to Kufa and transferred the capital of the Caliph there. And he remained there until his death in 661. After the death of Ali bin Abi Talib, Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan assumed the caliphate, and Damascus became the new capital of the Umayyad states, in same times Islamic states, which was in Peninsula Arabica, or also in Kufa, like we said before, with Ali bin Abi Talib. But after that, Yazid ibn Muawiyah received the Umayyad Caliphate in Damascus, and he sent an army towards Iraq to fight Al-Hussein bin Ali bin Abi Talib. The Battle of Karbala, which all of us, we know that, in 680, ended with the death of Imam Al-Hussein bin Ali. And that incident was the beginning of a long-term conflict between the two parties, which I mean Shia and Sunni in this context. This is the relation between Shia and Yazid bin Muawiyah. Where from the other side, the Yazidi and Yazid ibn Muawiyah, we will see that Yazidi are a religious minority of the Kurdish ethnic group. Most of them live in Iraq, like we saw on the maps before, Iraqi Kurdistan and northern Iraq, of course. But they also found in Syria, Turkey, Iran, Armenia, and Georgia, and also in Europe, in diaspora, in countries like Germany, UK, and USA also. In Iraq, they live specifically in the 4 main regions of Sheikhan, Duhok, and Bashiqa, Bahzani, and Sinjar. According to some scholars and researchers, the Yazidi religion should be considered an Islamic sect of emerged from the official branch. The Yazidis belonged to and originated from the dynasty of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, the second ruler of the Umayyad dynasty. For more than 1,340 years, the Yazidi were accused by many Shia of being the ones who killed Al-Hussein bin Ali bin Abi Talib. So they didn't like the name of the Yazidis and prohibit all form of dialogue with them. So this is the first event which made the relationship between Yazidi and Shia in the Iraq, we could say, but also in all the area, geographical area in the Middle East and north of Mesopotamia. Arriving to the last of the last century, we could say the Kurdish Autonomous Region was established in 1970 in Erbil, Duhok, and Sulaimani. However, the Yazidi regions remained outside the administrative boundaries of this region. Almost all the Yazidi region was subjected to comprehensive Arabization process by Ba'ath regime. We are talking about 1964 and 1989. Since 1974, the Iraqi government has tried to exclude the Yazidi from the Kurdish society and Kurdish nationalism by declaring that the Yazidi are descendants from Arabs and descends from the Umayyad Caliph Yazid ibn Muawiyah. So this is again, we are talking the relationship between Yazidi and Yazid ibn Muawiyah, and the Saddam Hussein regime actually moved a lot of Yazidis from their homelands to other camps, we could say, especially around the Sinjar, around Mosul, but also some of them in the south of Iraq, where there are the Shia community. So we are talking again to take the relation between Shia and Yazidi from the other sides. After the 17th, we have the 18th, which was the Gulf of the war between Iraq and Iran from 80 to 88, and a lot of Yazidi lost their lives during the Anfal campaign, which was actually against Kurds in the north of Iraq, in which the Iraqi regime targeted Kurdish civilians. In the aftermath of the 1991 Gulf War, the Kurds revolted against the Iraqi government, and after that, the Iraqi government withdrew the Kurdish region in October 1991. But 90% of Yazidi lived outside of the Kurdistan regional government. The entire Sinjar, with the homeland of Yazidi region, and a large part of Sheikhan, including its main cities, remained out of this control of Iraqi, under the control of the Iraqi government. Only Lalish and Ba'adre, Lalish is the holy cities of Yazidi, they remained and within the Kurdish autonomous region. So we are talking about 10% of the Yazidi homelands under the Kurdistan regional government, but all others homelands and cities remained under the Saddam Hussein regime. In same time, with the Kurdish uprising, there are also the 1991 uprising in southern Iraq by the Shia community. At this stage in the Gulf War, the Shia uprising erupted in the south, and during the suppression of the popular uprising in 1991, specifically in Najaf and Karbala, the two holy cities, the incident was exploited by the Ba'ath regime to put its fighter and oppressive forces in Shia cities to fight against the uprisers, who have mustache and wear on their heads the red kufiya, in a clear resemblance to the Yazidi character. And it was promoted among the people that they were Yazidi who had come to take revenge on the Shia again. So we are talking again the conflict between Yazidi and Shia in another context of the history. After the fall of Saddam Hussein regime in 2003 invasion of Iraq, a new phase of interaction began between the Iraqi components that left many of their previous differences aside. From this relationship emerged the communication between the Yazidi and the Shia, as many members of the Yazidi component participate in government position and were members of the Iraqi parliament. For example, one of them, Hussein Hassan Narmo, a Yazidi parliamentarian in the Iraqi parliament, said, which I was in contact with him, and he also mentioned me some articles and ideas about this relationship between Yazidi and Shia, said in a special meeting between a group of members of the Iraqi parliament, including some Yazidi representative with his eminence, Mr. Ammar al-Hakim, he indicated, and in a spirit of high concern about the extent of his satisfaction with the meeting and affirming his sovereignty to to move forward in defending the rights of all original Iraqi components. On top of them is the Yazidi component. So after the war of 2003, we have a new phase of relationship between Yazidi and Shia community, not only on the from the political side, but also from the social side, because a lot of religious reference from Yazidi sides or Shia sides visit the other parts of the community. But after that war, 2003, we have another war in the Iraq, which is the rise of the Islamic State. After the wave of the Arab Spring that swept across the North Africa and Middle East in 2011, chaos and instability reigned in many regions, especially in Syria. Stay in Syria nowadays also, but then the militant jihadist groups emerged that took control of cities and towns by forces and arms and terror, with the establishment of the Islamic States and its control on mid of 2014 over most of the Sunni cities in Iraq. We are talking actually about a third of the geography of Iraq in that year. The massacres committed against the Shia in the Mosul city, specifically in Tel Afar district, a mass exodus of Shia families aroused towards other Iraqi cities, including Sinjar, Yazidi community where are living there. The Yazidi received these families and provided them with urgent assistance. They were accommodated in homes and schools. This new among the painful and rapid event that was taking place was circulated by various media, and it led to great sympathy of the Shia with the Yazidis. But not so far. In summer of 2014, ethno-religious genocide was carried out against members of the Yazidi community. Women were enslaved and or forced to marriage. Children were forcibly recruited as fighters in the ranks of ISIS, and prisoners were forced to convert to Islam. So in this phase, usually it's normal that minorities tend to seek protection in areas where their identity resonates in one way or another with the identity of the host community. So Shia minority used to seek refuge in province of Najaf and Karbala. Yazidis were displaced from Nineveh to Kurdistan region, and Christians were displaced to predominantly Christian areas, such as like Ankawa in Erbil, also in some areas in Baghdad. Of course, we all saw the rise of ISIS, but also the fall of ISIS in 2015, 2017, and also in 2019 in some different places between Iraq and Syria. And this is fall and liberation of the cities from the ISIS actually was because of the collaboration between a lot of community on that area, geographical area, especially from the cities of Mosul, Sinjar, and around Mosul, Shia community, Yazidi community, and all other of militia from Syria and from Iraqi Kurdistan, from army of Iraqi government. But the most important thing, I think, during these events was the declaration from two important people or important persons that from this community, such as like Ayatollah Ali Sistani, who said in this phase, it's our duty to protect the Yazidis. And after the liberation of Sinjar and parts of Sinjar, Mir Tahsin Bek said, the former Yazidi prince, a number of heroic Shia merchants entered Mosul, risked their lives for our honor, and went to the women's market, bought 40 Yazidi girls, and drove them to their families. Thank you to the Shia because they have proven that they feel us. So actually everything is changed from the past history to the modern history. And this is maybe it's because of a lot of reasons, but I think to conclude my presentation, it's also depends the freedom of religion in the area, because during the visit of Pope Francis to Iraq at the beginning of March 2021, interfaith prayer was held in which the Pope participated in the archaeological city of Ur. So I think that freedom of religion, belief, and religion affiliation means that the protection of all individuals of all religious components and sects. There is a need to protect freedom of religion and belief more, and to make dialogue and coexistence a primary goal for the various sects, whether they are a minority or majority. Wars, violent conflicts, poverty, inequality, and state institution based on authoritarianism, nationalism, and religion are all factors that aid in violation of freedom of religion and belief and contribute to create an irreparable rift in a single society. So we are talking about society, but we are talking about countries, communities, and a lot of culture and beliefs. I think the lessons of the past, the not so far past, was also important to comprehend this new phase of the dialogue and the new reading of the past history. Both of them, Yazidi from the side or the Shia from the other side, I think they understand more the importance of the history and the dialogue each together from the each to another side. So thank you for you, and my presentation is finished here.
Okay, thanks very much, Dr. Rammo. This is another very interesting examination of recent events that have characterized the Middle East in these years, and also a very interesting analysis of interfaith relations. And so another very, very interesting presentation here. And now we